Welcome to the first video from Find the Juice. Starting this week and every week going forward for the rest of the baseball season, I will be covering the top stories of the week from my perspective. We've also just started a business. We're data analysis and we're connecting it to sports betting. So if you're interested in making money upcoming in the future, stay tuned. Any week of baseball news, you have to start with the reigning champion, billion-dollar payroll of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Opening day, they opened it in LA fashion, having the king, Ice Cube, walk out with the commissioner's trophy. Going into the game, the Dodgers wore their World Series edition jerseys with the gold lettering. They scored 4 runs in 5 innings of reigning American League Cy Young Award winner Tarik Skubal. That includes a home run from Tommy Edman and another home run from Teoscar Hernandez, the Mariners legend. In Game 2, there was a lot of controversy. The Tigers and Manuel Margot were called out at home plate, which would have gave them 6-2 lead with the Dodgers coming up in the bottom of the ninth. If you saw the game, you'd notice the Dodgers tied to 5-5 score in the bottom of the ninth, which means if Manuel Margot was not called out, the Tigers would have won. But instead, it goes to extra innings, where Mookie Betts said, "Losing 23 pounds in Japan is not going to stop me," and hit a walk-off 3-run home run to win the game. A lot of people on the internet and in the baseball world were saying Manuel Margot was safe because you can see Austin Barnes tag him on his foot after Margot touches home plate. But Manuel Margot was out. Austin Barnes grazed the thigh. The slightest graze of the thigh. And then in Game 3, we saw tears from the newest Japanese import, Roki Sasaki, as he gave up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings in his United States debut. Dodger fans were booing him. People are overreacting and seem to forget their other Japanese import last season had a similar start. Yamamoto came out. He was terrible in spring training. He was a little bit better the first couple months of the season. And then he came out with a 0.60 ERA in June and solidified himself and proved himself to be an actual good pitcher. And from talking about the Dodgers, we gotta talk about the Padres. Because it seems like the Padres saw the Dodgers get out to a 2-game lead out in Japan at the end of February and said, okay, hold on. We're still your rival. And man, was it surprising, because on paper, everyone thought this Padres team took a step back when they lost Tanner Scott. They lost Donovan Solano. They lost Ha-Seong Kim. They lost Jurickson Profar, which the Braves did now too because he's suspended 80 games for PEDs. But the Padres came out to start the season and said, hold up, LA, we're still here. Swept the American League Titans, the Atlanta Braves. The most impressive thing about this is that they did it on the backs of their offense, where they lost all those core pieces. Michael King couldn't make it out of the 3rd inning. Dylan Cease couldn't make it out of the 5th inning. Their top 2 pitchers. But Jackson Merrill, 5 hits, 4 RBIs. Fernando Tatis Jr., 5 hits, a home run, 2 stolen bases. As the Padres just went on to sweep the Braves and be 1 game behind the 6-0 Braves in the National League West. And now I bring to you my favorite segment, and I hope it's everyone's favorite segment, the Pimp Job of the Week. So the Pimp Job of the Week comes from opening night, Athletics versus Seattle Mariners. It's the bottom of the eighth. Mariners are down by 1. Randy Arozarena at the plate. He swings and does this. Oh my God, the anger out of that man. He said, you know what? Screw you, Tampa. I'm home. I'm in Seattle. Seattle fans, you talking trash on how I played at the end of the year last year? I'm here. And I'm back. Oh, yeah. Swish. Now, a piece of news that I don't really see anyone talking about, especially since the season started. It's about the Miami Marlins. So before the season, there was mumblings that the Major League Baseball Players Association wanted to file a grievance with against the Miami Marlins because they're $20 million below what the CBA requires teams to be at in payroll per year. And to put it into more perspective, the Miami Marlins are spending more than $100 million less than the average Major League Baseball payroll. And that makes this series and the start of this year so fun because the Miami Marlins came out. They had to face Paul Skeens in the first game of the season, and it looked like the Pirates were going to cruise their way to the first win of the year. And then the Miami Marlins decided to walk it off against that Pirates bullpen. And then they do it again. And then they end the first series of the season 3-1 and in first place in the National League East. And we all know the new CBA comes up in December 2026, and we assume that owners are going to be against this deferred money and shenanigans, if you want to call it that the Dodgers are doing to get players like Blake Snell, Shohei Ohtani, and so on. But now, if the Marlins have a Cinderella season, how are you going to argue that when a team with a $49 million payroll makes it to the playoffs? So to me, that's going to be very interesting to watch. Not just this year, but if they do it again next year before going into the new CBA talks. Because if anything, it's going to help the Dodgers and other teams like the Mets and Yankees keep the current structure of payroll, using the Mets and other teams like the Guardians as an example to say you don't necessarily need the payroll to be a good team. And finally, we'll end this week talking what everyone else is talking about, the Torepedo bats. Just real quick, game 1, Austin Wills leads off the bottom of the first with a solo home run. And at this time, there was no rumblings about Torepedo bats or anything. Yankees win 4-2. Consistent pitching job by Carlos Rodon, beating Freddie Peralta. And then we wake up the next day on a Saturday. Yankees Brewers to lead the day off again. Yankees come up to bat against their old buddy Nestor Cortez. In the first 3 pitches in the bottom of the first, leave the ballpark. Yankee history made. Never before have the first 3 pitches in the game been hit for home runs. And then, the following day, the Yankees scored 12 more runs, putting them at 32 runs in 2 games. And everyone wants to talk about Torepedo bats. Which makes it crazier. every player that hit a home run besides Aaron Judge in those two games were using the torpedo bat. Austin Wells, who hit the home run to start the season of the bottom of the first in the first game of the season, using a torpedo bat. And now everyone's all about the torpedo bat. Was all this scoring and home runs coming from the torpedo bat, or was it coming from Brewers' subpar pitching? Freddie Peralta only gave up a few runs facing the same torpedo bats. So why did the Yankees score 32 and not 10, 12, 82 in the first game of the season? Well, I broke down the pitch mixes from those two games following the first game of the season, and I saw that nearly every pitch that was hit out with the torpedo bat was a fastball down the middle. And if you know baseball, you know you don't need a torpedo bat to hit a home run on a fastball down the middle. Now, Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, and Paul Goldschmidt all combined for 10 home runs in the first week of the season. But the media doesn't tell you about the other 11 players in baseball using torpedo bats. They combined for 7 home runs in the first week of the season, and 2 of those were from Elly De La Cruz, who used his first torpedo bat on March 31st and hit 2 home runs. But let me tell you, the next day he went 0-for-4. So don't get too sucked up into the torpedo bat shenanigans or hoopla, whatever you want to call it. Because at the end of the day, you still have to put the bat on the ball. And at the end of the day, you still can't swing at bad pitches. You still can't hit garbage pitches out of the park, no matter how big your barrel is. And that'll do it for this week. Tune in next week, and I'll break down some more news, have another Pimp Job of the week, and hopefully we have another exciting week of baseball like we did this week. And let me just say that was the best opening day I've ever seen in my 38 years of life. Thank you.